Hello, everybody. My name is BrightRose, and welcome back to another Remake the World episode. It's been a while, and today we are going to look at one of my most favorite calming things to do in Minecraft, which is another type of terraforming. And we are going to be looking at small rivers and little cliffs going along the side of these rivers. It's based on the Hi Squid. Are you just. Well, you know how this works by now. That's staying in. The general technique is based on the same as making the small cliffs. However, because of the presence of the river, of the water, we're going to add in a little bit more mossy stuff and a little darker stuff that goes underneath the river. So, let's get preparing the area for what we're going to be doing. So to start off, as usual, we've just got rid of all the little bits of grass in the area that is going to get in our way of placing blocks. And now we've kind of got this little area that we're working with, going to go straight to placing the stone. And we're going to talk about pallets and things like that a little bit later. But right now, we just need to get a basic area of stone down to show roughly where the cliff that we want to make is going to be. And I'm going to spread it over this kind of short little curve area and probably not go much further up the natural terrain than about here. But we are going to have to blend the top and the bottom of the cliff into the terrain that we already have. Starting from down at the water's edge, I'm going to start placing darker blocks up until we get to the surface of the water. I want to get rid of some of this dirt down here and just get these darker blocks placed in, working with my usual way of doing landscaping like this and making sure there's no dirt placed vertically underneath any of the stone blocks. This clay as well, we're going to get rid of it. With rivers and things like this, I tend to get rid of any areas of sand or things like gravel and clay that are in there, because I quite like to have the areas being nice and dark. And we're going to swap between the deep slate and the cobble deep slate just to get this little variation of dark and light going on. Now that we've got the deep slate in place, we're going to start putting these mossy blocks down. And I'm going to begin with getting rid of these remaining bits of dirt and gravel and sand that we've got down here. We just want to create this sort of look that there is vegetation and things like that growing on these rocks under the water. We're just going to build that up and then begin to have them coming out of the water like this. I'm not going to get rid of all this grass just yet, just a little bit here and there, because we're going to be putting stone steps and slabs across this area in a few moments. Right now, we're just building up these areas of moss and things like that. And of course, we do also have the steps and slabs that we can add just to put them in areas like this to show them coming out and creating these different levels that make the build look a little bit more natural. You can just add those into the corners like that to build up and create that transition between the dark areas at the bottom and the light areas at the top. And of course, when you're placing slabs under the water like this, you can have these issues where they're not quite fully waterlogged. So, bucket of water and we can resolve that. Just to make it look a lot better. Because otherwise, you're going to be able to see those bubbles from above the water. If you're looking for a particularly heavily vegetated area, you can add the full moss blocks under the water like this, and it will create a darker area that later, when we come back and add more little plants and things like that, can serve to just create a little focal area underneath the water. I'm just going to grab those now for later. Now that we've got the underwater area sorted for now, we're going to start adding little blocks here and there on the upper areas as we're beginning to climb out of the water. I'm just going to go over these areas with the slabs and things like that, just to add these little bits of height here and there in between all the various blocks. And again, when you've got little areas like this where the stairs don't automatically become waterlogged, you can just add a little dash of water to even it out and make it all look better. And as we climb up the cliff from the water's edge, these little mossy bits are going to begin to fade out, and we're going to go back to the stairs and the slabs in the usual way that I tend to do this kind of thing. And we've also got some of the lighter blocks, like the cobblestone and the andesite, that we can just add in as well. Now that we've got the rock work added in and we've got these little bits here like this, we can begin to add in some other details. So I've got little bits of moss carpet that we can add into these corners just to show just how wet the area is, and add another little step to the design just to add a little bit more detail. So we can go around, find any little areas that we might want to add one. I like to put them in the corners like this, so as I say, you get those little steps going up, and it just adds a nice little bit of detail in to the overall build that kind of blends the area into the terrain around it. You can also go around, add a couple of things like ferns just to get a little bit of height and interest going on around the build. Of course, you can just use the bone meal to get the various types of grass and things like that, just to blend it all in to the natural generation of the terrain. And again, if you're going under the water, spread a bit of bone meal around, add some little bits of seagrass in here and there, just to make it look that little bit natural. And of course, you can dot a few here and there onto the rocks as well, just to make sure all of this is blended in. If you want to go for a little bit more natural detail as well, you can do things like add leaves around the area and underneath, just to show the water and foliage and bushes and things like that blending in. You can even dot in a few of the mangrove leaves just to create some variation between the various different bits of landscape around your build. And as one final thing, this of course copied from, I believe it's the one, the only, the Great Gemini. You can add little bits of glass like this, so you can get reeds dotted on the edge of your build. And with that, we have a little enhanced river cliff just blended in to the natural terrain, but adding a little bit more detail, a little bit more realism into the build to just enhance the waterways like this. And if you want to do a little bit more detail, you can do things like add coarse dirt, maybe a bit of podzol, things like that under the water, just to add some of those richer, deeper, muddier textures. But really, it comes down to whatever you want and what build palette you're going for. This design, I like it. It works with most of these nice green lush biomes like plains, like jungle, things like that. Going into deserts and those sort of drier areas is a little bit different, but that just comes down to swapping up the build palette. If you want to see me do one of those, do let me know in the comments down below. But for now, my name is BrightRose. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this Remake the World episode. Let me know, as I say, if you want more like this, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.